Hello and welcome back to Georgia Paper Crafts. Today I'm working with the Simon Says Stamp June 2019 card kit called Leafy Frames. Let's take a quick look of what we get in this kit. We get the usual Simon Says Stamp cardstock. This time it comes in Black Ivory, Cotton Candy, Green Leaf, and Nina Desert Storm. We also get 4 envelopes, and they come in the Simon Says Stamp Metallic Green Gold, Green Leaf, Metallic Gold, Metallic Black, and then a white. Then we get 1 Stampers Anonymous Glitter Duster. We get 1 jar of Ranger Clear Rock Candy Distressed Glitter. We get 1 package of Kaisercraft Coconut Mini Paper Bloom Flowers. The Cortavella Botanical Garden 6x6 inch papers, along with the matching frames and tags ephemera. And then we get the 6x8 stamp set from Simon Says Stamp, aptly named Leafy Frames. Alright, now starting with card number 1, I wanted to work with some of the cardstock, so I pulled out 2 pieces of paper that I thought went well together, and I pulled out my MFT die called Horizontal Stitch Striped die, and I cut different pieces from that. I then cut this small little frame from the green leaf cardstock to hopefully frame up the sentiment tag that came in the ephemera set. Now, I can't remember where I got that die from. I think it was just somewhere I had in my stash, but it almost fits. It's a little bit short, if you'll see that on the side it's a little short, but I thought I'd still go with it. Now I'm just kind of lining these up in big to little order, alternating the patterns. One with a floral pattern, one with just a solid pattern. Using my Nuvo glue to get those glued down onto the green leaf cardstock. And I believe I've cut this down to be slightly smaller than an A2 size. Try and get them all straight. I'm going to go ahead and glue down this tag onto this die that I had, or a piece of background paper that I had cut out using the die from my stash. Like I say, it doesn't fit completely, really nice, but I think it looks okay. So I went ahead and went with it, and I decided I'd go ahead and pop this up. And the sentiment does say thank you. Placed in the middle. Go ahead and adhere this to a pre-made off-white card base that I had made prior to the start of filming. I made 10 of them, all out of off-white 110-pound cardstock that I had bought, I think, from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to adhere that with some glue, and then I'm going to pull out some of my Nuvo drops. This is Postbox Red Nuvo Vintage Drops. Then I'm going to bring out the Bottle Green Nuvo Crystal Drops. Just going to put some drops there on the side to add a little touch. Just kind of shake it to get them to flatten out a little bit. And that finishes card 1. Now moving on to card number 2, I wanted to work some more with this pattern paper. So I went ahead and cut out a frame using my rectangle frame dies from MFT. Then I cut out a solid piece of the the pink paper, along with some banners of some of the other coordinating pattern paper. And I took this tag here. The whole goal was to use this tag, so I made 2 other small banners. Actually, that green one was in the ephemera pack. And then that tag right there came in the ephemera pack also. And that's the one I wanted to use, so that's what I kind of made the whole card around. So I'm just going to adhere this frame that I made out of my rectangle frame die to my pre-made A2 size card base. Now the inside piece that I have there with the pink is one that I cut out previously from the same die, because you get 2 pieces. You get the rectangle frame die, and then you also get the inner piece. So I was able to use that. And then I'm looking to attach that here, maybe pop it up just a touch. Use some foam squares here to help pop it up. And this frame, or not frame, this tag says, oh, what does it say? It says, "Friends become our chosen family." I really like that. So I'm looking at it now and I'm thinking this needs a little bit something more. I feel it's kind of empty right up there. And I also think it's a little crooked, so I'm trying to be as gentle as I can and pull that up just a little bit. Then I'm going to try to replace this so maybe it's a little bit more straight. Luckily I was able to get it in time before it totally got adhered, before I pulled anything up and ripped the paper. So here I'm, like I said, I'm thinking, what do I want to add to make it look a little bit better? And I decided to bring out these Lawn Fawn Put a Bow on It dies. And I'm going to cut a bow. Use one of my die cuts, this bow die cut, to make a small bow. Now these Lawn Fawn die cuts come in different sizes. This is the small one here. And you get the one that makes the bow itself, and then the ribbon that you can either put straight or have the ribbon come down. And the problem for me, it's not really a problem, but the issue that I have when I do use this to make ones is my fingers are kind of big, and this is kind of small. So I feel like I'm always fumbling around trying to get it to stick and be made and stay. But this is where I think using reverse tweezers really comes in, because once you get the glue in place, or whatever type of adhesive you like to use, you could squeeze it together using your reverse tweezers and it'll hold it. And you'll see what I mean here in just a second. I'm trying to get that all put together, and then I'm going to squeeze it together with my reverse tweezers, and that just kind of holds it right there. I'm looking to see how that looks. I'm going to go ahead and adhere it to this solid ribbon piece. And I'm sorry again that this is out of frame a little bit. Decide to put it just on the very top of that tag, just to give it a little bit of something. And I guess I accidentally got some of my green, bottle green Nuvo drop on my work surface there without knowing it, and it got on the back of the card, but tried to wipe it up. And here I'm just going to use some off-white Nuvo drops. This is that was actually Oyster gray, and then also the Postbox Red, and I'm using the bottle green. I decided to use all three. Tap it down just a touch, and that'll be it for card number 2. Here's some still shots. Now moving on to card number 3. I once again wanted to use some of the pattern paper and also some of the tags and sentiment frames from the ephemera pack. So I went ahead and cut down a piece of the pretty pattern paper here, and I'm backing it with some black cardstock, just matting it. And then I'm bringing out this tag here that says, "Life doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful." And I decided I'd go ahead and mat that also with some black cardstock. So I'm just going to adhere that down, and then I'll just cut it out using my scissors. I'm going to take that smaller sentiment piece that says "Follow your dreams," and I'm going to go ahead and back that also. And fussy cut that out. Now I'm going to look at the placement and try to decide how I want the placement of these 2 frames to go, or 2 pieces to go. First I'm going to go ahead and adhere my piece to a pre-made A2 size off-white card base. Go ahead and adhere this tag. And then I decided I'd go ahead and pop this one up below it. I kind of liked how it said, "Life doesn't always have to," or what does it say? "Life is," well, yeah, "life doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. Follow your dreams." So pretty much telling you, no matter what, you know, who, what, when you are, you could always have a beautiful life. All right, and here I decided I'd cover up that little hole with one of the small little white flowers that came in the set. I just cut it off from its stem. I'm going to go ahead and adhere it right there. And I'm going to add some Nuvo drops, and this is the gold. Just a few. Seem to always put them in the same place. I don't know if you guys do that too. I just always gravitate to the upper right, or excuse me, upper left, center, and then down to the bottom left. I also use the bottle green and the Postbox Red also. A little bit of a shake. And this card will be done. Here's some stills. Now moving on to card number 4. Again, I'm using some pattern paper. Decided to cut down just a small, I believe this is a 3 by 5.5 piece. I'm just going to use a solid red back back side of some of this pattern paper. Pulled out one of the frames from the ephemera set again. Trim off the excess there. Now this is where I decided I wanted to try out this glitter duster thing that came in the kit. So I had filled my glitter duster contraption with the rock candy glitter duster that I got, and I'm going to try to adhere it here, spray it onto these pieces of double-sided tape to try to give it kind of almost like a shimmery, shiny tape look. So I'm using it here. I know it's very, very difficult to see. It kind of sprays out pretty wide, has a very wide coverage. I'm just burnishing it in. And I'll go ahead and do the same here on this side. Again, it's so difficult to see it in here, especially because the rock candy glitter is a white glitter. And it worked okay. I mean, I got decent coverage. Decided just to take what was left and kind of empty it down into the bottle I had left over from the rock candy glitter. Just cleaning up my mess with the anti-static Swiffer cloth. I would say that glitter duster contraption was okay. I probably would not purchase it. I just don't see much use in it, but that's just my opinion. All right, so here I pulled out one of the frames from the ephemera piece, along with an inner portion of one of the frames, and that inner portion says love. So this one I want to use one of the stamps from the stamp set, and that stamp says sending, and it'll say love. Pulling out my Misty so I can hopefully get it stamped well the first time. I'm going to use my VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And the bottom stamp says proud of you. So it would say sending love, proud of you. However, I must have really squished that bottom stamp. And so when I did that, it kind of spread out the ink. So it's not a very crisp stamp. And I really don't like it. It kind of bothered me quite a bit. So you're going to see what I do here. I'm going to go ahead and adhere down that frame. Yeah, see, I'm pointing at it saying, I don't like that. I don't like the way it looks. And that's the thing, I guess, before you scrap your project, try to figure out a way that you're happy with to fix it so that you can keep going with this card and it can be used, because you hate to waste all the time that you've already put into making this card. So kind of looking and seeing what paper I can use here. Maybe I can cut out a piece of paper and cover it up, and that's essentially what I decided to do. I'm going to cut a piece of the paper here, some of the pattern paper, just from some of the scraps that I had left over. I'm just going to glue that down right over that, just to cover it up. trying to think, oh, do I want to put a flower there? What do I want to do? Kind of looks bare. So I'm thinking, I decide to maybe bring in another sentiment, but emboss this on black cardstock. And so I decided I would go ahead and emboss this sentiment, which I believe says hugs and kisses. Sending love and hugs and kisses. Oh, sorry. Sending love and faraway hugs. I knew it was something like that. Sending love, and that says faraway hugs. Now, the other problem I had here was that I didn't have anything that said and. So it would have just said sending love, faraway hugs. I guess that could have been okay. I didn't have to have a and. But you'll see what I do here in a few minutes just to try to complete that. Go ahead and cut this down. Cut it on a diagonal there, and then just add it to the cardstock. So here you can see I'm thinking about the and, quite a bit about the and I decide to go ahead and write it in. Well, my handwriting is not the best. That probably was not the best idea. Yeah, it's hard to see right there. I did write in the and yeah, it doesn't look great. But I left it so you could see what I did. See, there's the and. I don't know. Not real happy with this card, but it is what it is. Okay, so moving on to card number 5. I wanted to use some of these scalloped border dies from Fawn, which I did do, and for some reason I'm attaching them kind of low on the scallop. I believe there's actually a line to kind of guide you where to add them. For some reason, I didn't seem to pick up on that, so I kind of put it kind of low. When I say low, you know, I put it down low on the cut line there. And as you'll see, when I go to put it on my card base, I realize it's too big. So first of all, I'm cutting off the excess here and trimming off the sides. And I'm gonna put, yeah, see here, I'm like, it's just hanging over, oh, too much. So yeah, I decided to go ahead and pull it up, and I'm a little bit slow in getting to this, yeah, frustrated, you can tell. You can see, and I started getting up that piece. I'm like, okay, I can do this, I can do this. So then put some tape runner on it, and I see that line. See, I'm lining it up with the line that I finally saw, and that lines it right up perfectly. Working to gently get this one off. Yeah, I tore it a little bit, but good thing is I'm able to cover it up quite a bit just because it's the back side of the paper. One lined up. There we go, much better. Yes, and that fits. So, lesson. Pay attention to the lines on the die cut. Oh, you think I haven't ever used this. I have used the die before. I don't know why. I kind of acted like I hadn't. But anyway, moving on. Decided to go ahead and put a little tape adhesive on that. Go ahead and put it down on my pre-made card front. or my card base, which is a off-white A2 size card. I'm going to use another frame from the ephemera pack, along with one of the tags that says family, and another tag below it that says life is better with you. I'm going to go ahead and adhere all of this. As you can see, there was 2 holes on both sides. For some reason, the first one, not for some reason, but the first side came out, the hole, but I decided I'd go ahead and put that back in because I kind of liked it in. I'm going to adhere the family tag along with the other tag below it that says life is better with you. And here I probably should have just left it. Maybe a few embellishments, maybe a few Nuvo drops, but I decided I wanted to try to use these flowers again. So I cut them off of the stems, cut 4 of them. And I decided I'm going to adhere them with some of my glue dots. And I'm going to put them in each corner. I have never used these type of embellishment before, these kind of flower things. They're easy to work with, but they do add a lot of bulk to the card. There we go. Alright, and that's it for that card. I'm not sure I like the 4 flowers, but you let me know what you think. Tell me if you like it. Alright, moving on to number 6 and 7. I did both of these together because I'm going to heat emboss and watercolor at the same time. So going back to, if you watched my previous video, you saw that I embossed, heat embossed with gold embossing powder onto a black cardstock. I'm doing the same here, and I'm, again, sorry, I am out of focus. Not out of focus, but out of the line of the camera. I need to push it up. There we go. I realized, yes. Move it. So anyway, okay, I'm using the Leafy frame here, and I'm going to do this all at once because I am going to emboss it all in the gold embossing powder from Simon Says Stamp. So this is the frame stamp with the sentiment sending, and then below it it says birthday joy. This is where I like having the misty because you can re-stamp it and get it right in the right place, because I never stamp well the first time. Everything put back into the bottle. Oh, made a big mess there. I guess I cleaned it up before I proceeded. Cleaned up the other stamp, pulled this one out, this floral wreath. And I'm going to use the sentiment that says, just because. No? Changed my mind. Didn't really fit. I didn't like how that sat in there, so I'm going to use the one that says always here for you. Now I have not heated up my heat gun yet, and I haven't melted the first one, so I'm waiting to do it all at once. So I'm going to go ahead and get this one stamped down and then put the embossing powder on, and then I'll go ahead and heat everything. There, it's really neat on camera. You can see it just totally melt, and it just looks amazing. How it just it's beautiful. I don't know. If you're like me, I love heat embossing. It's fun. It's amazing. And I think heat embossing on black cardstock is really pretty. Alright, so I've got both my panels here. Sorry, my video seems to be cutting in and out, kind of wonky here. I'm not sure why it's acting like that. Now I'm pulling out my Fine-Tech pearlescent watercolors again. If you watch my previous video, you saw I used them in the other video also. Love using them. They give such a beautiful metallic, vibrant color. Now, since this is not water, color paper, you have to definitely be careful with how much water you add to it. But like I say, a lot goes a long way on these, so that's why I put the water into the little palettes, or into the color palette there. So, and then I just pull from there, and I try to stick with all one color at once, and then I move on to the next color. So I actually used a certain green. This is almost like I think it's called a iced metallic or a blue green, and it just seemed too light for me. So what you'll see a little bit later is I decide to use a darker green, and I go back over this one just to make it a little bit darker. Alright, now that I'm finished coloring all these, I'm going to go ahead and see how I want to attach them. And I'm wondering, if I want to attach them just using or just simply to the card base. Do I want to back it or frame it with some of the pattern paper? And I just thought that might be too busy. So I'm kind of looking at that but deciding against it. I am thinking I might want to use a solid color matting. So I'm looking here to see if I wanted to use the green, and I do like that. So I decided to pull out a piece of the green leaf cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and adhere that down. Leaving about a 1/8 of an inch border or so. I don't know exact measurements, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Go ahead and cut that. See how that looks on the card base, and I like that. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere that. Doing the same here with this one. Side I want to try to back that with something also. So just kind of looking again at the pattern paper. And I decided to go with just a craft cardstock behind it. So sorry that went by kind of fast, but I did mat that with a craft piece of paper. And again, here's a look at both stills. Okay, so that was number 6 and 7. Now we're moving on to number 8. I decided to use these leafy border stamps, and I'm going to stamp it on a piece of A2 size cardstock. This is the craft cardstock, just using my Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink and kind of guiding or deciding where to put it based on how I kind of want my paper to sit in between it, my pattern paper. And I know that this doesn't go all the way to the end, but I know I'm going to cut it down. And like I say, I'm trying to use some Copic friendly ink because I will be coloring this with Copic markers. And here you see I'm going to start coloring. I'll put the colors down below. Not doing any real fancy coloring here, just kind of using 2 colors or 2 markers per color, kind of a dark and a lighter one. I'm going to color both sides the same. Once I finish up my coloring here, I'm going to go ahead and try and put my piece of pattern paper down in between. And I think, again, like this is 3 inches by, it might not even be 3 inches, it might be 2.5 by 5. However, as you can see, I decided to cut down to just one side of it. So I only used one side of that leafy border. I just didn't like how it looked on both sides, so I guess that's why I went ahead and do that. However, it doesn't go all the way to the end here, so you see I'm trying to decide, okay, let me try to extend it a little bit, and I'm just going to do a quick little stamping here to try to get that to kind of look like it's continuous. Just a little bit there. And I decided to use the same orangey marker to try to color it in. There we go. And initially I thought I'd use this in the landscape fashion, but I actually decided to use it in portrait style. So you'll see that in just a minute. Here I went ahead and used my tape runner to put down a piece, some adhesive, and I'm using some of my just metallic tape to kind of put a little border in between the pattern paper and the stamping, some green and some gold. I think I could have left it here, but I guess I decided to go ahead and put a piece of the green on each side of that gold. You can see here I'm looking at it initially thinking I'm going to do landscape, and then I turn it and I'm like, I like that better, putting it in the portrait mode. Now here I had cut out a piece of craft cardstock with my stitched square die, and I'm just trying to center the sentiment, which is "You are always in my heart." Initially I tried to stamp this on a craft die cut heart, but it just didn't fit, so I abandoned that and then just went with the square. I'm going to go ahead and adhere this down. I noticed I still have a little bit there I needed to cut off, so I've already put that adhesive on there. I'm going to put that in there to try to get that trimmed up. And I decided I'd go ahead and pop that up. Oh, nope, I thought I popped it up. I guess I did not. I went ahead and adhered it flat using my tape runner. And for embellishment, I decided I would pull out some hearts. I can't remember where I got them from, just some enamel hearts. They're not enamel, are they? They're almost like a, you know, I don't know what material this is, but it's a cute little heart that you can put in shakers or whatever. And I thought that'd be cute just to add a few embellishment, since I was saying you were always in my heart. Using my crystal katana and my Nuvo glue, go ahead and get all of those adhered. Oh, and I decided I wanted one more. And maybe one more. Okay. 4 was not enough. Needed 6. I guess I decided that was enough. And I think those were the last of the red ones. I think the rest of them were pink or silver, so Anyway, that finishes this card. Now moving on to card number 9, I again went back to some of the pattern paper and I decided to take 2 pieces and adhere them together. This pink striped paper along with the pink floral paper. Once I adhere them, I'm going to go ahead and take a stitched rectangle die from Fawn and cut that out. Now again, I wasn't sure if I would use this in landscape or portrait position, but obviously I then decided using it in the portrait would be best. I went ahead and decided to use this tag that came in the ephemera piece. And now I'm using some of this leftover pieces of pattern paper from the residual of what I cut out the rectangle die to cut out some of the flowers, because I'm going to go ahead and pop them up just to add a little bit of dimension to the card. So I decided to go ahead and cut 3 of these out and fussy cut them as best I could. Kind of, and you can't really see it real well here when I lay it on top, but I will add some crystal glaze to it, that'll also help it stand out quite a bit near the end here. And I'm looking to see if there's another one I could get, but I think I decided that was it. And here, I didn't like that this stripe pattern was a little bit different than the other one, so I decided to cut it off. And round the corners. As the bottom of it was already rounded, so I went ahead and rounded the top. I'm going to go ahead and pop each of these additional cutouts that I had done and pop them up right over the flower. They kind of match perfectly right over the flowers. Just a little bit of overhang there, so I cut it off. Go ahead and add some tape under and adhere it to my pre-made card. And this tag says "Chase Your Dreams." I'm going to go ahead and pop that up also. What I decided also here is that this needed a little bit something also. It kind of looked plain, so I decided to add a little sentiment here that said, so the tag would read, "Chase your dreams," and then I stamped, you're amazing. You're amazing. I'm going to add a pre-made bow. I think this is Martha Stewart pre-made bow I had in my stash. I'm just going to add that on there. It's gray. Try to give it a little extra something. And then I'm going to use crystal glaze. Oh, first I'm going to use my Nuvo shimmer pen over the flowers just to give it a little bit of shimmer. Nuvo Crystal Glaze, which is essentially, in my mind, like glossy accents. All right, and here's the finished card. Now moving on to card number 10. Unfortunately, I thought I had my camera going when I was making this, and yeah, no, I did not. So here is a image of the finished card. What you can see is that I essentially used more pattern papers. I cut a piece of pattern paper down as the base, cut a banner out of another piece of cardstock, and then I used one of the ephemera pieces that say Choose Joy to stick in the middle. So very simple design, but very pretty, I thought. So I apologize again for not having that footage. Again, I thought I had it, but I didn't. So here is a look at all 10 cards. Again, I appreciate you stopping by and spending your time with me, watching me make these card kits or cards from the Simon Says Stamp 2019 June card kit. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope you give me a thumbs up if you do. And if you haven't already subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you. Bye.